So take what I said about running backs and that room not being quite the standard and multiply it about 10 or 50 times to the secondary. Uh, but they've got experience there. But is it just going to be a bad secondary with experience, or are these guys developing and some of those incoming transfers that they've tried to bring in going to complement the other guys and make it more of an LSU secondary?
Yeah, Mark, the defense has so many holes, and it really starts up front. And the thing that concerns me, Mark, is the LSU secondary has a lot of returning production from last year. And, we talked about that with the offensive line. Well, the difference is the offensive line for LSU was really good, and a lot of the returning secondary wasn't really that good. So, obviously, with some new coaches, they hope to extract more out of this group that was mostly 4- and 5-star recruits. Sage Ryan is back. He was very up and down last year. Major Burns was back. He was very up and down last year. And, you're going to be going up against Zachariah Branch. You're going to be going up against Deuce Robinson. You're going to be going up against a really explosive USC offense. So we'll see if they can stop the explosive plays.
Are they going to let Harold Perkins play? They're going to cut him loose, just let him run after the football?
Yeah, so he will be playing a traditional off-ball linebacker, and they'll try and turn him into the next Patrick Queen as a weak side backer. So it's going to be a transition. But one thing we've seen Blake Baker do is get the absolute best out of the players he's coached at the last couple of stops. He's really matured into being one of the best individual personal developers of talent on top of his scheme. So LSU is really crossing their fingers. Some people view Harold Perkins as a pure edge pass rusher player. Some people think the softball linebacker transition needs to be smooth. They tried it last year, Mark, and they quit it after the first game versus Florida State. So we'll see what they could do with Perk next year.
2025, of course, is on everyone's mind in regards to the recruiting game. June's a huge month, official visits, camps, and everything else. And even beyond that with 2026, how is the LSU recruiting game at this point?
Yeah, Mark, it's been pretty good. Obviously, the big story over the past couple of months has been LSU losing DeCorian Moore. And obviously he's, the most high profile wide receiver in this crop. But the trenches are being recruited really well. LSU feels pretty good about getting an offensive lineman out of Arkansas named Carius Kern this week. And that's where things have really turned for LSU in recruiting is the offensive line with, someone mentioned Bo Davis. That's the defensive line coach, and he's really good. And then you also have Brad Davis, the LSU offensive line coach, who has really flourished under Brian Kelly. And what makes that recruitment very interesting, and on the SEC channel, I do cover a lot of Arkansas Razorback stuff, is Brad Davis is from Baton Rouge, but his mentor is Sam Pittman, who's from Arkansas. And Arkansas rarely has recruits like Carius Kern. They have maybe 3 or 4 stars every year in the state of Arkansas. So it's going to sting even harder for Arkansas if LSU is able to flip Carius Kern, who was an Arkansas commit, to LSU. And it's going to sting even more for Sam Pittman, knowing that his protege actually was the one that took him. So a very interesting recruiting battle there.